Alrighty, so today we are doing another 15-minute breakdown of models and lore. Today we are looking at the blue faction, which I will pull the map back over for reference once I get this opened up. Alright, so let's start my 15 minutes. So, the blue faction. Names and such are temporary placeholders. Most of these models are still heavily work in progress and placeholders. This is a Dreadnought. These are the Blue's capital ships. This is a medium Dreadnought. They get a little bit bigger, they get a little bit smaller. Just really depends on the class. I don't have a name for this particular class, but it's kind of a proof of concept. So, what are these? Well, these are airships. You see, compared to the red carrier I showed earlier, it has a bit more of a classic Zeppelin look in terms of the hull, but this is not just one big balloon. This is actually a hull just kind of shaped like a balloon. And then inside of it you'd have crew quarters, and then your hydrogen, assuming I use hydrogen, balloons kind of sectioned off. So smaller balloons inside the big hull. That kind of sounds weird. Inside of the hull of the ship, as well as crew quarters, barbettes and magazines, and such. These are extreme long-range ships. They really can go wherever you need them to. Quite large crew, quite highly trained crew, well protected, hard to sink dreadnoughts. They are kind of thinner ships. Most Zeppelins of the time use kind of two balloons. These ones are like two stabilizer balloons, I guess you could say. This one uses the center one, so to help keep stability, they have these stabilizer wings. As well as they look a little modern. I need to change them up. But the Blues have access to two technological advancements over every other faction. Radar, which you can kind of see up here, as well as some other spots that I've kind of been working on, and the smallest jet engines. And this is as small as they get, which if we compare to the size of a plane, which we will get to, the aircraft of this particular ship, you can see they're still not small enough for aircraft, which is why they're still propeller driven. But this particular class uses rockets or jet engines for stability, as well as additional lift and combat maneuvers. The main propeller engine sits here, kind of encased, kind of submarine looking. That's its primary drive engine. Unlike most other ships, most dreadnoughts do not have. If they're running these jet engines, they don't have secondary prop engines. This one is running jet engines, so those are its secondary engines. But most of them will run one or two major props in the back, and then nothing up towards the front, as most of this front is armor. These things are supposed to be unsinkable. I mean, they are, but they're super difficult to sink. And you'll notice the presence of a ram blade. Used a lot during the earlier wars and conflicts. Now, at the time of this particular ship, they are more of an art piece. But they are still present and they are still usable if you really just want to save ammo and go for a ram. The Reds focus on carriers and their aircraft. The Blues really focus on their capital ships. And these things are built to perfection. They are pretty much defended from every angle. These main guns can hit pretty much every angle. This one has a limited turning capability, and is this the animated model? No. It can drop its guns down and turn past these fins if it needs to, but the rest of the guns have pretty much free angles. The top guns have free angle of where they need to shoot. These are kind of heavy hitter, probably about 37 millimeter. I don't have everything to scale yet. Anti-aircraft guns. These are your smaller quad anti-aircraft guns, high rate of fire, just to really knock everything out. These are secondary auto-loading, or assisted auto-loading revolver cannons. You can see the spindle. Similar, this is a lot lower detail than the Red's guns, because I kind of went ham on the Red guns, the Red revolver cannons. But similar concept, it throws the shells out the back. Well, I'm kind of looking at it now, and I might need to rethink some of the mechanisms. But there'd be a crew member up here just constantly throwing rounds, and this would just keep cycling the rounds into the gun, anti-air or anti-ship purposes, whatever is required. And then these are nasty little guys. These are essentially massive sticky flares. They are more of an intimidation tool and an anti-pirate tool. Most pirate aircraft and pirate ships are built to be cheap and disposable, and are paper or cloth, and these things will burn that up really quickly. They are rocket bursts, obviously unguided. They will just throw them out in the general direction of aircraft and small ships, even big ships. They will happily shoot the decks of larger ships, and the main purpose of it typically is scaring off the enemy, making them maneuver, making them pull off. But if it gets the hit on the right material and can stick and burn it up, it will start a fire rather quickly. This one has 3 of those launchers, as well as casemate secondaries. These are, for this particular model, for this particular year, kind of more of a niche. They're very quickly going out of style as tech increased, and instead of having these lock guns with limited up and down, especially as combat became, airships could maneuver up and down a lot better, these were kind of seen as outdated. This is one of the last new dreadnoughts to have casemate guns. Also present is the Fly Fisher. These are utility aircraft. So there's its catapult, there's its storage, there's its crane. These are some assets that I'm using to make stuff. And if I open up, I don't need to save the Fly Fish model to get a better look at it. We will end on the Fly Fisher. This is a utility aircraft. It is not a fighter, though this one is a little bit too beefy armed. It is got a massive engine on it. It is quite fast. It is quite maneuverable, but its goal is not to take on other aircraft. Its goal is reconnaissance. There are models of these with radio direction finding, or RDF. Its goal is finding ships. There's models of these with radar equipment. There's models of these carrying basically deployable radar beacons and radio beacons that just are on small balloons. They will have a compartment somewhere back here. I don't have the design finalized. It pops out, their balloon deploys, and they just sit there and act as a beacon. There are models with an extended back and an open canopy for rescue. As see, these have pylons because the surface of the Earth is mostly water, since all the islands all the continents are floating essentially, even though they're not real continents. But these things are built to go down to the surface and land and recover other aircraft or airships. It is an backbone aircraft to the Dreadnought Fleet. Reliable. They can take on other aircraft, but it is not what they are built for. And as I kind of say that, I feel like I should make a fighter variant of these, but it's not its main role. The Grasshopper is the main fighter of the specialized Dreadnought units, but we will get into that later. I might just end up filming that one right after I'm done with this one. Yeah, it's just a utility aircraft. They can carry ordnance, mostly small bombs and bomb slingers, small rockets, mostly stuff that to assist infantry on the ground, and especially in places where the Dreadnought guns would be too deadly for close bombardment. There are slight passenger models, I should say, with once again a slightly extended back. I mean, this is a two-seater, but the other one would just be easier to get in and out of, for carrying VIPs from ship to ship, or ship to land, or land to ship. The only thing I don't have figured out yet is recovery. How does a Dreadnought recover a plane in the air without having it land on the water, going to the surface, then using its crane? But that would still be a longer than I had this crane set to be. I don't know. Catapult is hooked up to the main gun, this main gun, so it, there's battleships like that in real life. Difference between a Dreadnought and a battleship? Really just the name. Dreadnoughts tend to be significantly bigger, and the Blues really tend to use them and have them be, they tend to be more advanced in design. But that, did I say everything I had to say in under 15 minutes? I might have. Sweet. That is the Blue Dreadnought. It is a powerhouse of a ship. They were first built as, they typically travel in pairs. I'll get into the tactics and more of the lore. Dreadnought fleets are typically a pair of two dreadnoughts, and most of the time they're on anti-pirate patrols. They are looking for pirates, since that's the big issue until a war breaks out. The main constant threat they face are pirates, and that's where a lot of these secondary guns come in to play. Some of these guns weren't really popularized for these capital ships until the end of the Northern Ireland conflict, and then after that, and pirates became kind of a big deal. These smaller, less devastating weapons became popularized, and a lot of these ships, not this one in particular, but a lot of the older ships I tend to get into, have these massive weapons that would just obliterate a small disposable pirate ship, and aren't really used against pirates because they were weapons built for fighting other capital ships that are being repurposed to fight pirates, because this is overkill to a pirate, especially since they have radar and can see through clouds. But most of these ships are deployed for hunting down pirates, escorting, kind of distant escorting. They don't hug transport ships and trade ships, but they'll patrol a lot of the popular paths that they take. It is not uncommon for blue ships to have this additional, this one doesn't have any rigging to hold it in place, but additional plates kind of placed around the ship to add additional armor. They are not fast ships. There are fast response dreadnoughts, which are once again some of the fastest ships out there. But these really big ones are not those. They are flying fortresses. So I'm going to end this one Feel free to give me feedback. Let me know what you think. Ideas. Share it. Comment, all that stuff. I don't really have a ton of models for this. What do I want to call world I'm working on? Yet I'm slowly working on them. It's because I have ideas, but getting them into a 3D space takes a bit of time, and these take a long time to make. I will show one that I started working on and never got around to finishing. Well, I guess I have two of them. But where's the one particular one I was thinking of? There it is. This was supposed to be a red super carrier, half carrier, half dreadnought thing. And I started working on it, and then I just I couldn't get it to look good, and I was really I lost inspiration on it, so it kind of died. And so I want to remake the ship. It takes a long time for me to get to it. Here's another plane I started working on, and I might actually try to finish this one. It's just supposed to be a super fast, hard-hitting blue, similar to the Fly Fisher that I just showed, but a different design for a different reason, different utility. So yeah, there's a bunch of designs that I started that I never finished because I start the design and then I kind of forget what I'm going after. So I'll get done what I can. I am going to upload this one and record 2 more, and then I'm going to schedule them for release because I've got some time on my hands.